What's going on, everybody? How are we doing tonight? I am so excited to be up here and get to talk to you guys. It has been a beautiful day in Alabama, and I hope that you guys have had a great day also. I mean, this is like the first time in a week, I think, that we've not had rain, so that's awesome. I finally got to do some more stuff in the garden, which always makes me happy. But yeah, it's been awesome here. It's been awesome, and I hope y'all have had a great day as well. But let's see here. How do I usually do this? You know, it's like it's the first time every time. It's kind of weird. But yeah, you guys know the drill. If you guys are out there in the comments and the viewers watching, yada yada, do me a huge favor and make sure you hit the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. It really helps the algorithms. You know, leave a comment at the end and all the fun stuff. You know, check out the Patreon. Always check out the Patreon because I drop extra content for you guys there all the time, almost daily. Yeah, been doing a lot of that. It's only $1 a month. $1 make you holla. You know, it's what funds me going out to the woods and shooting documentaries and stuff like that, and doing all the fun stuff, buying the equipment, because that's not cheap at all. But on that note, I'm actually making pretty good progress with the documentary I just did with Harley, and that will be coming out probably pretty soon. But let's see here. Any more housekeeping? Merch and stuff like that, yada yada. You know the drill. So tonight we have an awesome guest, somebody that I met at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference. They're an awesome group. They have a lot to share and offer, and they're really good people. So, with that being said, let's get Mr. Billy up here. Welcome to the stage.
Hey, thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. You really saved my butt tonight. I really appreciate you.
Glad it worked out.
Me too. So tell us a little bit about you, brother.
So my name is Billy. I am a co-founder, along with my wife, Jill, of Night Vision Paranormal. We are based out of West Kentucky, and we are a paranormal investigation crew.
Nice.
We actually hang signs in our events, like where we met Jim, that says, yes, we are a real paranormal investigation team. We cover it all. Ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot, Dogman. If it's paranormal, we cover it. We don't consider ourselves just ghost hunters. We consider ourselves paranormal investigators. We want to get to the bottom of what's going on, and what problems somebody may have plaguing them. And
right.
We really are here to help. We do a lot of house calls. That's our biggest thing that we do. We do splurge every once in a while and go to some of the popular places like Waverly Hills, for instance. We've been there 3 times. We're getting ready to hit a couple more coming up pretty soon. Ashmore Estates up in Illinois, the Night House over in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So we're looking forward to those. And we got a couple other cool places coming up. And we also kind of have a cryptid division per se. My father-in-law, part of our group as well, and he spends a lot of time looking for Bigfoot, looking for Dogman. So we've got some exciting things coming from that too. So
awesome.
I'm glad to be here tonight and look forward to sharing some stories with you.
Great. Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. So as far as, I guess, what we kind of discussed, right, is that specialization for you in particular is within the ghost hunting community, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really started this based on the ghost side of things. We've officially been a group since 2017. We started more in the ghost side of things, and the logo's always been the same. I don't know if you can see it here, but that was the easy thing, I guess. Speaking is that we can go to Waverly Hills, we can rent out other venues.
Right.
People invite you into their homes if they're having issues with the paranormal. That typically is ghost. And then like I said, especially with my father-in-law retiring recently, he's been able to spend a lot of time out in the woods with the cryptid side of things. And because me and my wife both work, we have 4 kids that we're chasing around everywhere.
Right.
It helps broaden the group and get more reach and be able to cover more areas per se. So
Right.
we're into it all. We wouldn't back away from any case. But like I said, the kids come first. They have every sport on demand, all kinds of things going on all different times. Work comes first, I guess, because you got to be able to pay the bills for the kids.
True.
Time, and somewhere in there, we squeeze in the Night Vision Paranormal thing. About a year ago, we started the vendor side of things. That's how we met you down at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. We're getting ready to do a local one here in our home county of Marshall County, Kentucky. It's just they call it a mini con. It's just something that the library started doing last year. We kind of worked our way into the invite, set up a booth there, buy the merch, right? And as you mentioned in your house cleaning items, $1 goes a long way. Equipment, the places that we sometimes will splurge to go, isn't cheap to go there. Gas ain't free when we go to a person's house. And when we do that type of stuff, we do it at no charge to the person that has us come out. Our main goal is to help people, so we're not going to charge for that service.
Right. And that's a great point to bring up, because you guys will actually go out and, provide a service and investigate people's houses when they reach out to you.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And we'll have people reach out to us from time to time that kind of on the fence as well. They're not sure. As we were talking about kind of pre-show, we're in the Bible Belt here in West Kentucky, and, the paranormal, you start talking that and it hits people different ways. And our main thing is to help you. We really want to get to the bottom of what it is. It's not always a ghost. It's not always Bigfoot. It's not always an alien. We look at it as skeptics. I'm not a skeptic. I'm a believer. But just because something happened doesn't mean it's always a ghost. And so you have to take it for what it is. That's why we have special equipment that looks at things. We go back and review evidence after we've been there, and really try to dig deep into what's going on and what's affecting somebody.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really awesome. I if nobody else has told you, thank you. Thank you. It's awesome that you do that, man.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do, some of the best things that we've found has been at individuals' houses. You don't always have to go to the place that you've seen on TV to find super paranormal activity going on. We did a house 2 times that's local to the area. I don't want to give out a whole lot of specifics. Person invited us in when they were in the process of purchasing the home. They had some creepy feelings, invited us in, and some of the wildest things that we've captured all happened there.
Really?
Some of the wildest personal experiences I've had happened at that house. So, we captured EVPs. So we knew a specific name of what we thought was going on there. And, sometimes I'm just an old hick and I can't pronounce things super well. And I kept saying the name incorrectly, and I was corrected.
Oh, okay.
Once we went back and reviewed evidence, I was corrected. We did the torch method. I know that's some people believe it, some people don't. Set up 2 flashlights, yes and no.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So, I know people watching may not know what I'm talking about, but you take 2 mag light flashlights, you kind of make it where it's a little bit easier to turn on than normal. You have one for yes, one for no, and once you open up a line of communication, left may be yes, right may be no, whatever the case may be. We had a on-demand 1.5-hour conversation. Yes, no, hour and a half long.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is when it kind of ended, there was 4 of us in the room, and we kind of all felt something just leave the room one after another.
Yeah.
And nothing after that. We went back a second time to the location just because we had so much happen to us the first time that we went there. My wife and my father-in-law were downstairs, and that's where we had most of the encounters. We never could get anything to happen upstairs. We had been there, and about maybe the craziest thing that we had happen upstairs was we thought we may have heard music one time, but we couldn't rule out that it wasn't a neighbor, so when in doubt, throw it out, right?
Yeah.
I went upstairs by myself. They stayed downstairs. Unbeknownst to me, I was sitting there alone. I had my recorder going, but I didn't have any lights on. I didn't have any camera, unfortunately. I left all that equipment with them, but I was just sitting there in a chair and was just kind of filling the room just to see if I could hear anything, see anything. It's amazing once your eyes adjust to the dark, what you can see,
Yep.
And I was just kind of filling the place out. And unbeknownst to me, my father-in-law had said something like, hey, mess with my son-in-law for being married to my daughter. I don't know exactly what he said. It's been a couple years ago. And I was touched.
Okay.
You felt like something flicked my ear. I mean, I didn't go crazy, but jumped up. It was the coldest sensation that you can imagine. I can still, years later, I can point to the place where it touched me. And
really?
I got my flashlight out. I was looking for any explanation, that I could find. Where's the spider at dropping from the ceiling? Where's the bug flying around? What was it?
Right.
And I went back downstairs a few minutes later after I kind of collected myself and thought about what had happened and told them what happened. And they both kind of started laughing because of what they had asked to happen. So that was wild and crazy. So you don't have to go necessarily to Waverly Hills to have something happen. It can be in your back door, your next door neighbor's house, your house, whatever.
Right.
So if there's no reason to be scared. We actually sell a T-shirt that says "Ghosts are just people without bodies," right?
That's right.
We have another one that says "Ghosts don't scare me, people do," right? So you don't have to be scared of ghosts, right?
Right.
Ghosts can't hurt you. So we just want to be there to help people if they're having issues with the paranormal.
Very nice. That's interesting. 2 questions though about that. Okay, so the first one, was there any kind of weather type situations going on that night?
No, every time that we was there, the weather was, pretty nice.
Okay.
So no electrical storms, anything like that.
All right.
I checked everything. I didn't want to believe what had happened. I didn't jump up and initially say I was touched, right? That was pure. There was nothing else it could have been.
Yeah.
I was checking appliances to see if they were grounded properly. I mean, it was, and then the fact that they had literally asked that to happen to me,
right,
just made it even more. And we was able to kind of sync our evidence, if that makes sense. You could, a few explicits to my reaction, and you could match that up to the question being asked to go do that to me. So that was pretty cool as well.
Yeah. And the second thing is, like, you bring up the fact that if you think about it, you can still feel where it touched you on the ear.
100%. I can point to you still today. It was this ear. My grandfather used to flick us on the ear if we were acting up, and it just kind of felt like that. You could hear the wind, sound in your ear, and I can still tell you where the coldest touch I've ever felt. It would have been colder than if you'd have put an ice cube on my ear.
Yep. So that strikes a chord with me because I actually have an encounter, I guess you could say, with the shadow entity that touched me on my shoulder, and it actually left a mark that stayed there for about a month. But like, if I think about it, like, I can still feel where it touched me at, like So
crazy.
I understand. I'm with you. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
You know, that's in the top probably 5 things that's happened to us. You know, that's pretty up there. I would have to say, just because it was my first experience with the paranormal, will always probably rank number 1. I seen a relative that had passed about a couple months after the passing. Later that night, I was in bed. For no apparent reason, a stereo that I had at the time in my living room came on at 3 o'clock in the morning, just blaring.
Yeah.
Of course, I had a newborn at the time. Stumble. My sleepy brain wasn't thinking, turn it off. I was thinking, turn it down before it wakes the baby.
Right.
Hit the power button, wouldn't go off. Hit the volume button, wouldn't turn down. Finally had to unplug it from the wall to get it to stop. And it was the same night, you know, and that was 20 some odd years ago. And from that point forward, I was like, what did I see? Why did that happen the same night? It had significance to the person I saw, the radio station that it happened to be on. So after that point, I had to know more. And, you know, 20 something years ago, that was really about the start of like para-pop culture, let's say, you know.
Right.
There was just starting to be TV shows on about it. Prior to that point, I don't think I ever watched a single episode of a ghost hunting show. I don't know that I'd ever heard the word ghost other than as a joke or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not like I was raised super strict to the point where it was just voodoo, but it just wasn't something we talked about. And honestly, it wasn't out there as much as it is today, you know. And myself being a person that has to know why everything happens, I just couldn't leave it alone. And a few years later, I started working at a business, and the business was haunted. Had a lot of experiences there. Saw another, you know, entity twice at that. Once the actual person, the other time it was a shadow figure. Chased it around the building one night before we were locking up, thinking that somebody had gotten into the business.
Right.
Seen furniture actually. I didn't see it move, but I was the manager of the company, and I was kind of like the last person out, first person in the next morning. And the way that our door situation was, kind of had a routine of locking and unlocking at night and in the morning. So you always started with the door that the customers would use, and you would end with the door that the employees would use. Before you went out the door that the employees would use, the keypad for the code for the alarm system was at the employee door. So you would go lock the customer door, and then you would go out, set the alarm on your way out. Got back the next morning, let myself in, went to unlock the other door, and there had been a whole bunch of furniture moved to where I couldn't get to the door. And I was thinking somebody was playing a trick on me. And so myself being a person that has to get to the bottom of everything, called the alarm company. And I was like, hey, who snuck in here after I left last night, or who beat me here this morning? You know, and my code was the last one out, first one in. So unless I move the furniture subconsciously, I have no way of getting it. I wish I could have had the camera view, but it didn't capture the area that it needed to capture to see what I needed to see. So that was a letdown. But had all kinds of things happen there. And then, like I said, lo and behold, 2017, my wife and I made our first trip to Waverly Hills, and so was born Night Vision Paranormal. And it's eventually turned into what we are doing today.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating, you know. And well, I can't imagine the mental gymnastics that my brain would be doing to try to figure out the furniture situation. Like that's pretty interesting right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that place is I'd started working there just a couple weeks prior to my first encounter that I had at the business.
Yeah.
And I had no inkling that the people that worked there was just used to this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh. I do believe Kentucky Wi-Fi is striking us. Oh. Oh. Oh no!
Employees sitting there laughing, cutting up, nobody helping the customer, right?
Oh no! Wow. And okay. I thought I was thinking that was actually going to work itself out there, you know, especially after it sounded like a Daft Punk concert going on. That was pretty cool. But all right. Well, let's see here. I will hang out and hopefully he'll come back. Yeah, Gremlins for sure, Anita, for sure. The ghosts have taken over. Maybe. You know, to be fair, I talked to the audience a lot about how all the flavors of the paranormal, you know, they all seem to have an electronic manipulation type ability, right? I mean, it seems to be a thing constantly. You know, what is that? I don't know. And, you know, he just literally gave us a story about it, like with the whole stereo thing, right? He had to literally remove the power. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, he'll jump back on. I'm not sure how familiar he is exactly with StreamYard, because he can just click back on it. Give me 1 second, folks. All right, email sent. Cool. Well, anyways. Yeah. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. I really do. Oh. Good?
Maybe I'm back.
All right, sorry.
Hey, welcome back. What's up?
Welcome to good old West Kentucky Wi-Fi.
Internet's having a moment.
Yeah. I know how it goes sometimes. Trust me, because I've had plenty of guests that are out there in you know, the middle of nowhere. They're like, you know, we really need to wait before I come on to make sure it's like a clear day, because Wi-Fi is kind of spotty.
You don't get much nicer than it is here, but we won't throw no names under the bus of what Wi-Fi I have, but it can be an issue from time to time. And the bad thing is, I live in one of those deserts where you can only get one company of Wi-Fi. So yes, it's a
same
problem.
Yes,
Trust
I
me,
feel
my kids are, Dad, the internet's out all the time.
Shoot, before I even come on and do this, I have to be like, okay, wife and kid, let's keep the streaming on all the devices down. All 4 TVs don't need to be streaming, and you guys both just be doom scrolling constantly. Like,
yeah. Well,
Daddy out.
They went away so that you didn't have to hear screaming in the background of a 2-year-old or anything like that. So I had to get her back so I could figure out how to get back to you. So I am not tech savvy. I am not the tech specialist of Night Vision Paranormal.
Oh, trust me, I get it. Sometimes I wonder, oh Lord, am I doing a good job when I'm out here filming? You know, like so I get it.
I became the face and the voice, and I don't know how that happened. But I don't mind talking, as we mentioned earlier in the pre-show type thing, and
Right.
so I kind of get pushed out and be like, "Hey, you'll talk," so go talk to me.
Right.
So
Right.
it's all good.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about some of these other places that you've been to, man.
Yeah, so like I said, we've been to Waverly Hills 3 times. A really interesting thing that happened to me there. The very first time that we went with some friends of ours. It was kind of before Night Vision Paranormal was really a thing, and we were on the 4th floor, and we were getting ready to go up to the 5th floor. We were near the far end staircase, and I kind of walked into an area that, for lack of a better way to put it, smelled like rancid meat. It smelled like somebody had left a pack of hamburger meat in the blazing hot sun for 5 days.
Very interesting. Okay.
Walked into it, instantly felt just like dread, sick at my stomach. Could walk out of it, felt fine. Walk into it, instant sick to my stomach. Just horrible feeling. Well, about that time, here kind of comes everybody else, and I'm like, something's wrong. I don't feel good all of a sudden. My wife walks through the same place, doesn't smell, doesn't affect anything, and you could sniff out, anything. Like I'm the one with the nose that can't smell nothing because of allergies, and she smells everything. One of the friends that we're with walks into it, smells it, same, like I'm gonna get sick if I don't get to some air. Her husband walks through it, nothing. So you got 2 people looking at 2 people like they're crazy, and what the heck? What are you doing? And I can't explain it, but I really just didn't want to be on the 4th floor anymore. And
I get it.
A pretty quick trip to the 5th floor. So we had a lot of EVP evidence happen there that we come back and captured. We were doing an EVP session in an area where they had told us that they had to keep a lot of children during the height of the pandemic. It was kind of like an overflow morgue. And we had asked if the entity that we thought we were talking to had a brother or sister. Came back, listened to it, heard sister, just as plain as day. As I mentioned, one of my children my oldest son always goes pretty much with us. I mean, he's maybe missed a case or 2 just because of college or school or something like that. But my soon-to-be 13-year-old, he actually went to Waverly Hills, and it was kind of one of those things, hey, we'll let you go, but you can't be hearing things and always seeing stuff, and we were walking down the halls, and he did really well. And one time he's like, I heard knocking. I'm like, you didn't hear knocking, be quiet, I told you not to talk. We had other people with us on this investigation, some friends of ours, some other family members that we had took with us, and I was like, they're trying to enjoy the hunt, you can't be making up stuff. Went back and listened to the evidence, and sure enough, both times he said he heard something, and then we got to see, I told you so. So for his 13th birthday party, he has asked for a ghost hunt.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Here in a couple weeks, we will be going to the Night House in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. It's fairly close to us. It's a place that, being close enough, we can kind of control a little bit, if that makes sense, for accommodate that. So what kind of parent gives a kid a birthday party at a ghost hunt, right?
A cool one.
Yeah, a cool one.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of our stuff is local houses, businesses. We've got the opportunity one time to do a city hall in Southern Illinois. We've got some other stuff like that coming up that, keep watch on our Facebook page. Because we got some really cool things coming. And we're, as I'd mentioned earlier, we're really trying to expand our vendor part of things, not not for any other reason than to fund fund what we do. You know,
Yeah.
The more money that we can raise, the more equipment that we can buy. Everything that we make, we turn around and put right back into the company. You know, so you know, we can buy more equipment. We can pay for the gas to go 20 miles down and investigate a person's house. And like I mentioned before, we don't charge the homeowner. So we don't charge the business owner if they're having issues. So in order for us to keep that type of stuff free and to be able to afford to do it and still live and pay our bills and feed our children and keep shoes on their feet, you know, we do have to raise money. And this is the coolest way that we could think of to do it. We sell our merch. We sell, you know, other things related to the paranormal. We got little stuff, Bigfoots, aliens, whatever. And my wife, she also owns a t-shirt business. So we can give a shout out to her t-shirt business. It's called Autumn Breeze. You can find it on
Shout
Facebook.
out. Yeah.
So she makes all of our shirts that we sell. So everything that you see that's like Night Vision artwork is something that she makes. And then, you know, so when we put a Night Vision logo on a shirt, and we have a few different ones that you can see on Facebook and things like that, it's all stuff that she's made, and it's her t-shirt that she's made, and we can produce that and sell that and help fund what we do.
Wow. That's awesome.
We really have tried to grow our Facebook side of things in the last few months. We really had never done social media before. We had a Facebook page for quite a while, but it was just kind of one of those things where we had like 300 followers that were friends and family, you know, and people that we worked with, whatever. And we really tried to push it, and we're really trying to push that harder because we want to help get the word out. When I'm on things like what we're doing tonight, I want to be able to help get people to your show to watch what we do. I want to be able to help get people to the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. We just did Atomic City Paranormal Symposium in Paducah. You know, we had people come and say, hey, we saw you do it on Facebook, you know, and we knew that this was going on. We want to get people to the mini con for Marshall County here in a couple weeks at the library. We're going to be at Cape Cod, Missouri for the Cape Con coming up. We want to get people there. And it's all about networking. It's all about getting what we do out there. And to me, I think it sounds better when a person reaches out to you and they're kind of on the fence about letting you come to do their home or whatever. And you're like, hey, you know, I've got 1,000 followers on Facebook, or I got 344. You know what I mean? So I think it's not about the likes. It's not about all that type of stuff. It's about getting your name out there, building a reputation, getting it to where people can say, hey, they come to my house and they treated us right, took care of us, whatever. And letting people know it's okay to have somebody like us come and check out and see what's going on.
Yeah. It can help give you some answers. I mean, you know, worst case scenario, you'll find out, it turns out I need to call a plumber because we got a lot of water hammer going on, right?
Right. I mean, 100%, you know.
Yeah.
So
that's worst case scenario.
Problems with the paranormal, it's no different than, like you said, having a plumber come check a plumbing problem or an electrician. You know, heck, we may find out that you've got an electrical problem. That light that you think keeps switching on and off may be an electrical problem, and you may need to call an electrician, not a ghost hunter. You know, so it's not always a ghost. And you know, we try to take a skeptical look at it. I'm a believer because of what I've seen, what I've experienced. I don't know that I was a believer until I seen or experienced it. You know, I believe seeing is believing. But not everything's a ghost. You know, not everything that goes bump in the night is a ghost. Sometimes it can be a whole lot of other things. And that's what we want to go there to find out is what is it? Are you dealing with something? Why are they there? I like the historical value of things just as much as the paranormal value of things, right? I want to know why, you know, who lived here before you, what happened on this land or property. And Kentucky has a vast history of things that's happened, and a lot of people don't realize what's happened in their backyard. You know, you got the Trail of Tears that runs through here. You know, you got all the the land situations that happened with LBL and, towns that were flooded,
Right.
and taken away from families by the government.
In the most tragic way possible, too, with so many stories. Oh, it's so dark.
So you have so many things that are going on here. Sure, it could have been Mrs. Jones that used to live in your house back in 1947, but it could also be, from the Trail of Tears, where we were pushing, tribes out further west.
Right.
It could have been because the government came in and said, "Hey, we're taking your land away from you." There's so many other reasons why, and like I said, it don't always have to be a ghost. We live near the New Madrid fault line. Just because that thing fell in your kitchen last night, it could have been a small tremor. As you had mentioned earlier about the weather, I mean, especially here lately, goodness gracious, Kentucky's just been beat up.
Right.
It could have been a thunderstorm. It could have been something to do with that. And we just really want to study it and get to the bottom of it. And I love history. I mean, I love history.
Same.
And I want to know what happened there. Who was there before you? Who could be still here? And maybe sometimes you get correlation between the evidence that you capture and what you found. As I'd mentioned about one of the places where I was touched, we had a name going into the place. And like I'd mentioned, I mispronounced the name and was corrected on evidence.
Right.
The entity very well told me that I wasn't saying the name right? So if you can match things like that up, that's awesome to me.
Right. That's very interesting.
Integrity to your evidence, and it's not just woohoo every time. My father-in-law is watching. I see the comments popping up every now and then, and he's right. We're not woohoo, right? We don't say something. We don't run scared. We don't blow it up on Facebook and be like, "Look what we caught," and it just be our shadow on a wall. If you go to our page, I don't know that you'll see any evidence, and there's a few reasons for that, right? One, there's always going to be the naysayers that you really just don't want to deal with. Ghosts could walk up and shake their hand and they're not going to believe, right? And then two, you don't want to hear, well, y'all doctored that, you faked it. What we capture, if we're not out there blowing it up and we're telling you that, hey, we've caught this, you know what I mean? To me, that makes it more real because we're not out there just trying to get clickbait. Hey, look what we caught. You know what I mean? Oh, we could post EVPs galore on our Facebook page. Okay. Or I can tell you, hey, I've caught a lot of EVPs when I go back and look at evidence, but I'm not out there just blowing them up. You know what I mean? And I feel like that gives us more integrity. And I see his comment. Yes, he has been tearing up the LBL region a lot, as we had talked about earlier. And we've got some things in the works. There may be some big things coming from that. So we're pretty excited about that. So
I'm excited to see it.
I wish I'd have been there.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, man. So I have a question for you now.
Sure.
All right. So with doing all this with the ghostesses, I imagine you have a pretty good idea of what the range on a EMF meter should read when things start kicking off. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So the EMF meter is like the first tool that I pull out when I get to a place. And we'll do a sweep. And I just kind of want to know what the baseline of the place is. I'm going to go up and I'm going to touch light switches, plug-ins, lights that are hanging, lamps, things like that.
Right.
Walk by. If, a lot of times you've got power, sometimes you don't. It depends on if it's personal residence or an abandoned house or whatever the case may be. Of course, if it's abandoned, there shouldn't be any EMF, right? So that makes those situations even more peculiar. if there is something in the house, and that makes EMF a little more tough to use as a form of evidence, because the air conditioner kicking on could cause it to spike, or the furnace kicking on, depending on what time of year you're there. Walking past the refrigerator, not knowing always what's on the other side of the wall. I mean, that might be their outlet for everything in the house. That might be their electrical panel on the other side of the wall.
Right.
So if you get a baseline before the lights go out, you kind of will find those areas. Why did it jump to 10 all of a sudden? And then you look on the other side of the wall, oh, there's the electrical panel, whatever. When you find the free floating ones, those are a little cooler. It's a lot cooler when you can back it up with something else, getting a REM pod to go off as well, or, some type of video or audio, or, hotspot, code spot, thermal, anything like that you can maybe back it up with.
Yeah.
The EMF detector, like I said, it's a big tool for us because I do the sweep. But to say that it's the biggest tool for saying, oh, I caught a ghost in their house because I had a 10 spike in the kitchen, I'm not putting a whole lot of faith in that. I'm going to say that's something else.
Right. That's a great point. I mean, EMF meters are really cheap, so it's like a good way to like start getting into it. But Pamela is over here reading my mind. Baseline EMF in a forest, and the reason why I ask you this is because when I went out to film my miniature doc with Harley Owens in Tennessee, we were out in the forest, and baseline out there for us was within the teens to about 22, which I imagine if there's no electrical at all, that's a little high.
Sure, it'd be a whole lot high.
Okay. Well, because when we actually started having activity, the EMF would spike anywhere from the 60s to the high 80s.
That's a lot, So
Okay.
that would be hard to discredit there,
Yeah.
I would say in the woods, your baseline should be 0 to 0.1,
Okay.
unless you're close to something that you maybe don't realize that you're close to,
It's desolation out there, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
there's
it's the baseline
full of energy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, you're good. I was gonna say baseline being within the teens to the 20s, I guess is kind of cluing me into the fact that like when I was in that location, like there was a feeling, right? So I guess you're kind of like giving me some confirmation bias there, so I appreciate that. And
Sure.
I'm sorry, go on with what you were saying.
Well, I was just saying, there's places, and you can go down all kinds of rabbit holes that you want to, right? But you got whole ley lines and all type of stuff like that. I don't know how you discredit some of that stuff,
Right.
And there's just places in this world where there's unexplained energy,
Very
and
true.
to me, a lot of the paranormal is energy.
I agree.
That's why a lot of the equipment that we use captures energy, like an EMF detector, for instance. REM pods kind of use a play on, the same type of stuff. When you have drainage of batteries and things like that, I mean, that's all energy being pulled.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely when you are in an area where you've got high EMF, that's when you get the hair on the back of your neck and the goosebumps on top of goosebumps and things like that gives you that type of feeling. People that are exposed to that in their houses, a lot of times it makes them feel dread. It makes them feel like they're being watched, things like that. And sometimes that's where it comes in. Like I said earlier, it's not always a ghost. It could be something else, and that's something. They may need an electrician to fix a light switch that's putting off too much EMF. I don't know what could be putting off too much EMF out in the wilderness. I mean, you would think if you go out to the woods, you're going to have a pretty normal baseline.
Yeah, yeah, and to be fair, I mean, there's no power lines anywhere. I mean, it's desolation. There's nothing. So that's interesting. It's
Hey,
making me
that's
think a
I
little
think
bit
that's
about.
why we do what we do is try to figure out the unknown, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Making the unknown known, right? That's one of our kind of taglines,
Hmm.
as I mentioned, the reason why Night Vision Paranormal exists is I can't leave well enough alone. If I see something, I've got to know why I saw it. And the more I see, the more I got to go and explain what I saw. And,
Hmm.
if I would have had that instance that you had in the woods, you can bet your, you can bet your butt that I'd been back out there again. And, you know, trying to figure out if it happened again or, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, it happened again because I think it was 2 weeks after that. Harley went out there with another bunch of folks, and they had all kind of activity. I mean, shoot, in the daytime, we saw 5 Bigfoot, so there's that. I don't know how many they ended up putting their eyes on, but there's a lot of activity out there, and it's interesting because, like, in my camera footage from it, like, you would kind of get clued in that something's happening because, like, my wireless lavalier mics would start acting up, like there would be some kind of weird interference go on, and then just out of nowhere, one of us would, like, check our EMF meter. Like, I don't, it's like some, it's more than just chance. Like, we were getting clued into it, and we're like, oh wow, it's spiking hard right now. Huh, that's neat.
And there's so
I don't
many
know.
things that go on with the cryptid side of things where
Hmm.
there's so many theories out there as to what a cryptid is,
Oh yeah.
and so much of that again has a tie back to energy,
Hmm.
portals, aliens, things like that. There's theories that Bigfoot's an alien,
Hmm.
and the way I see it is everything's on the table till proven otherwise,
Oh yeah.
or disproven otherwise.
Hmm.
And um, 20 years ago, if I'd have been sitting here on this show with you, I'd have never told you that I'd have been a ghost hunter because I never
Hmm.
really thought about the word ghost, you know.
Right.
So, um, to get to do some of the things that we've done, to be some of the places that I've been, for this to kind of turn into what it's turned into,
Hmm.
I would have never dreamed this up 20 years ago because I probably couldn't have explained to you for 2 seconds what an EMF meter was. So,
uh,
um, and there's a lot of people talk sometimes about like the parapulp culture,
hmm.
and as we had talked about earlier, you turn every channel now and there's some type of show about the paranormal.
Right.
50 different versions of it,
Hmm.
and it is different now than it was 20 years ago. And there's some good and there's some bad to that, right? The good
Right.
is that it makes people more open to talk about it. It gets those more invites in the houses to figure out what's going on when people would otherwise just kind of sweep it under the rug or be like, well, that's nothing, whatever. But there's also negatives too when news comes out that somebody's faking it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I get it. There's an entertainment factor to that. If we turned on the TV every week and they never caught anything, we probably wouldn't tune in after a couple weeks. So I
Hmm.
get that they have to make things a little more jumpy and scary and add the music and the back, all that type of stuff. And as,
Right.
there's pros and cons to it either way.
Hmm.
If it wasn't for parapult culture, I don't think neither one of us would be talking to each other right now. Um,
That's super fair. Yeah.
so there has to be a good side of it. I can for sure tell you that I would have probably never fought to have made Night Vision Paranormal
Hmm.
if, even after seeing what I thought I, saw, um, if I wouldn't have turned on a few months, years later, TV shows and started watching them every week. I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
that's a way I can figure out what I saw.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, bleeds from there. And next thing you know,
Hmm.
we're out looking for Bigfoot and LBO or whatever. So, there's pros and cons to it both ways.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Great point, man. Great point. And all right, so I'm curious as we're kind of getting towards like our time. I do know, because I'm not like the most ghost savvy person, it's not normally what I deal with or mess around with. But I know that there is two classifications for hauntings, like residual and intelligent, I think.
Right. So
Okay.
a residual is something that is kind of like a record that keeps playing on repeat, right?
Hmm.
To me, I believe that a residual is a recording of something that
Hmm.
happened in that area, whether it be happy, your
Yeah.
grandfather used to sit in that same rocking chair every afternoon and watch the sunset, and you walk
Hmm.
by and that every afternoon the rocking chair rocks in the same place, or whether it be horrifying or horrific or something, wild and crazy, like Waverly Hills, for instance, where a bunch of people
Right.
tragically died. And Waverly Hills has a whole other side to it than just the tuberculosis part. The geriatrics part that people can look up and dig into. There was a
Hmm.
lot of craziness that happened there, and people were treated horribly. And so,
Yeah.
take a horrific event like that, and sometimes that tragicness gets recorded, and
Hmm.
everybody has different theories as to what it's recorded into. I
Hmm.
believe it can be recorded in rock, into an object like a teddy bear or something like that. That's why people use trigger objects.
Hmm.
And for those, if you don't know what a trigger object is, it would be using a teddy bear that you knew that belonged to somebody. You put it in the room with you and ask it to touch the teddy bear or something if it remembers it being their teddy bear.
Right.
Um, it can be in water. It can be in the land. It can be in rock. There's so many
Hmm.
things that it could be recorded into. Where
Right.
intelligent would be, something that can communicate on demand. Um,
Hmm.
if you ask a question, it can give you a definitive answer,
Yeah.
either by EVP or sometimes you can hear them audibly, while you're in the
Hmm.
location. Um, a lot of times, EVP is when you go back and review evidence and you hear it in the recording that you didn't hear audibly while you were there.
Hmm.
Uh, it could be, a family member, that you knew, or a person that used to live in that house that,
Yeah.
uh, you know, kind of are coexisting with or whatnot.
Hmm.
You can capture EVPs from uh, residual as well, but they may not make
Hmm.
sense. You may ask, what color shirt do you have on? And it may say Tuesday. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because they're carry on the conversation that was happening at the point in time that the event
Hmm.
was captured, where you're talking in real time to get the answer blue. If they were wearing a blue shirt, that would have to
Right.
be intelligent. So hopefully
Mm.
that makes sense.
Oh, and yeah. No, it makes lots of sense. Okay. Is there any notable experiences that come to mind, like within the categories that you would like to tell us about?
So residual, I believe residual would have been probably where I worked at. I talked to you about that. Um, there was a person that was a manager at that location before me,
Hmm.
and I think he was just kind of making his rounds. I think he enjoyed working there. Um,
Hmm.
he never interacted. Um, Now, I think there was more than one entity there, so that would explain the furniture move that we had talked about earlier. That would have
Right.
been intelligent, for an
Uh-huh.
example. It would have been smart enough to, make me notice that it was there. But the other one,
Yeah.
I believe, was you would just kind of catch a glimpse of them every now and then.
Hmm.
Never any real interaction. The house that I talked to you about where I got touched, that was intelligent because, as
Yes.
I mentioned, we had an hour and a half conversation,
Hmm.
using the search method. Um, I got corrected for saying their name incorrectly. That would not have been something that would have happened if that was residual.
Okay.
Um, we've done other houses where, like I said, I would think that we had an intelligent situation where I believe that one of the houses that we did, it was
Hmm.
attached to the person. I think there was a family member trying to communicate with them, uh,
Uh-huh.
and wasn't super active for us. I would say there was enough activity there that I was able to assure her that she wasn't crazy, but I don't think they cared nothing about us being there. They just wanted to communicate to her that they were there watching them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We did another house one time where everything was just so random that it had to be residual, because you never got a straight answer. We might have got an EVP. Thought I heard a piano play one time, but I didn't ask it to play the piano. Had a flashlight that we had just left set. We wasn't even doing the torch method. Had a flashlight that we had just left setting on a table, and only caught that it was coming off and on because we caught it in the cameras. We were looking at home base, and we could see all the cameras up on our TV screen, and it's like, hey, the flashlight keeps turning off and on, and we didn't even have it triggered to be doing that. So several instances of both. It's pretty easy to discern which is which when you're out there fairly quickly. A lot of times people tell you what's going on. You can almost kind of gather what it is, like, hey, this is probably going to be more intelligent. Let's approach it this way, or this is probably going to be more residual, so we need to approach it this way.
Right.
A courthouse or a city hall, I think that was a lot of residual as well. Just think about how much history had walked through those halls.
Right.
And I think we were just capturing some of days past in the present. So I would definitely say that was a lot of residual.
Yeah, man, that's super interesting. Super interesting. Is there any... How many entities have you seen while out here doing this stuff?
So you want to know what's crazy? So every entity that I saw, which is 3, okay, I saw 2 entities, 2 people that I could actually give you descriptions of, knew who one of them was in the beginning, obviously, right? And the other one found out later who I saw. And I saw 1 shadow person. Since I have started Night Vision Paranormal with my family, I have not seen an entity since.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Everything paranormal that I've had has been something that I couldn't see, hear, feel, touch, whatever. Right. The experience that I had at Waverly, I have not actually seen a entity since. My wife did see a shadow person at Waverly Hills. Unfortunately, did not capture it on camera.
That happens a lot. I get that totally.
So, I've seen enough stuff in my lifetime that it's made me a believer. The main thing is it's not important what I think. It's what you think. And if you're having a problem with it, I feel like our job would be to make you comfortable with what issue you're having, right? Just people without bodies, right? They shouldn't hurt you. If they do, that could be demonic, and you need somebody other than Night Vision Paranormal, right? Yeah. I'm a Christian. I go to church on Sunday, but I'm not clergy, and I'm probably not the person you want to call in for, something like that, right? So that would be a total different entity, right? That you would need to call in a priest or whatever, right. So, every person, it's their truth. You know what I mean? I'm never going to come out of a case, and if we come back and review all the evidence and don't capture a single thing, I'm never going to tell a person, hey, you're crazy, there ain't nothing there, right?
Right.
Maybe they just didn't like me. You know what I mean? Maybe they didn't, ghosts aren't puppets. They can't perform on command, and just because I'm there asking, they might not be there for me. They, as I mentioned, we went to a house where I'm fully convinced they were there for her. And I feel like they gave us just enough to tell us that, but just enough to tell us too that they didn't care that we were there. But I felt like they wanted to let her know, okay, it is me. And they gave us enough information to feel confident in telling her that. But they weren't, we weren't able to puppeteer them into action and say, hey, move that, and make them move it, So the main thing is treating them with respect. They were
Yeah,
people
yeah,
once, and talk to them like they're there. And
for sure.
I feel like when you do that, you get a lot more response.
Hmm.
And if you go in there guns blazing and trying to provoke or anything like that, we don't ever want to leave a place worse than what we found it.
Right.
We don't want to raise something to where they went from every once in a while capturing a glimpse of them walking through their kitchen to throwing stuff off shelves. You know what I mean? We're not
Right.
there to invoke that type of stuff. But hopefully sometimes we can give people answers. That's the main thing that we're after. And, go from there. And to
Awesome.
us, it's a pastime. I mean, if that makes sense. I really don't know how else to say it. But in the meantime, we get to help people doing what we like to do.
Right.
Some people want to go fishing. Some people want to go hunting. We go hunting, but we go hunting for ghosts and cryptids and aliens and whatever else. We go fishing for ghosts.
Yeah.
I'm getting older and my days of sports is behind me. So this is something that I can still do. Right. So it's our pastime,
Right.
and
Right.
in that we get to help people too.
Right. And that's the most important thing. That's what I'm here for too, man. That's what makes it all worthwhile in my personal opinion. So I get it. Well, awesome, man. I think we had a great show tonight. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
man.
do me a favor and start and promote the stuff one more time for me, will you?
Yeah. So again, my name is Billy. I'm with Night Vision Paranormal. We are a local paranormal group out of West Kentucky. We are family owned and operated. It's mostly me, my wife, my father-in-law, and my oldest son. We're the core four per se. You may see another family member from time to time, but most of the time it's going to be us four. And check us out. We're going to be advertising a lot of stuff on Facebook about places that we're going. So pushing the merch, like I said, trying to make money to do what we do and to get out and help more people.
Awesome. And once again, folks, remember, if you guys have issues in the general area, you can also reach out and they will come and investigate.
Yeah, the best place to reach out to us is Facebook. And we do that just to kind of keep where we can kind of weed through it.
Right.
And as I mentioned earlier, we have children that takes up a majority of our time. We also have regular 9-to-5 jobs that takes up a majority of our time. So it would be impossible for us to field phone calls and text messages and still do what we do. So reach out to us on Facebook. We will answer and reply back to you, and we'll get to you quickly. You may have to give us a couple week grace period there to work around a soccer tournament or a job obligation, but we will get to you and help you out just as quick as we can.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. I appreciate that. And, whenever you guys want to come back on, you've got an open invitation here. So, if there's ever anything that you want to promote, holler at me. Okay, buddy?
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Stick around for a few minutes in the back, green room, back room, whatever we call that. I'll be right back. But thanks. All right, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. Well, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Like I said, these are a good bunch of folks. I like them a lot. They're super nice and friendly. And yeah, if you guys got issues and stuff going on, call them up. It'd be awesome. But let's see here. Let's see. What do we want to talk about real quick? Let's take care of the stuff. Make sure that you guys have all hit the thumbs up button for me, the like button, whatever it's called. Subscribe if you haven't, because I am kind of cool. Sometimes I do tricks, but there's that. Once again, check out the Patreon. I drop extra stuff almost every day there. $1 a month. It's less than a cup of coffee. You can't even buy stuff from the dollar menu for that, and it helps fund me to go out there. But maybe I need to look into some of this merch. You guys have inspired me. But yeah, so there's all that stuff, guys. Also, keep in mind that if anybody wants to get some custom tumblers made, Mystic Mountain Creations, go check him out. It doesn't have to be, Fisher of Spam flavored merch like this, because they will make you anything that you want. It'd be cool if you got some of my drip, but you don't have to. But keep in mind also that some of the proceeds to that goes and helps people that are victims from the hurricane that went through North Carolina, whose name escapes me at the moment. They donate a portion of their proceeds to that. So, Mystic Mountain Creations. Yes, here we go. Thank you, Pam. You got me. So make sure you go and check them out because we love Jenny and Mike. They're the greatest people. There we go. Cool. So, yep. So there's all that, guys. And, I hope we learned some stuff from the stories. I hope you did what I always try to impress upon you guys to do and pull those little connecting threads, right? Because it's all connected. But, yep, so that's all I got for you tonight. So you guys know the drill. I love ya. Be good. Holla if you need me. And tuki. I should have my outro queued up. Peace.
How it's supposed to feel.